Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this month's MRAM. This is Ari Santander from the Office of Sponsored Programs. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so let's get started. Our agenda is attached here for you to review. This is just a reminder that live closed captioning is now available at MRAM. So I'm happy to introduce Maria Savage from Human Subjects Division. She will be our first speaker this morning. Maria, go ahead.
Hi, so my name is Maria Savage. I'm an Associate Director in the Human Subjects Division, and I'm here to go over some of the announcements from the May 3rd issue of our newsletter. I just have 3 slides, and the slides include the same text and information for these announcements as was included in the newsletter. It should just take a few minutes, so I will take questions at the end. Oops, we've skipped ahead here. There we go. Now, research that qualifies for exempt status is not subject to the same regulatory requirements for consent as research that requires IRB review. So this is why HSD does not review or approve consent materials for exempt research, and these materials should not be included in your zipline application for an exempt determination. However, consistent with the Belmont principle of respect for persons, HSD generally expects that researchers will provide subjects with certain information about the study prior to their agreement to participate in the research if there will be an interaction with the research participants. To assist with this, we have developed a new consent template for exempt research. The template shows the information that should be provided to participants. It is not required and is intended to be an optional resource. HSD has also developed some consent examples that show different ways that the consent information might be presented depending on the design of the study. These examples include talking points, a consent script, and a flyer. They show the minimum information that should be communicated, as well as additional optional information that the research team might choose to include. Related to this, HSD has been in the process of transforming Word-based guidance documents into web pages and consolidating them in a guidance section on our website. We felt that it made sense for the development of the consent template and examples to coincide with turning our exempt guidance into a web page. We took information about the different categories of exempt research and the exclusions from the worksheet exempt determinations and incorporated this into the web guidance. This worksheet has now been retired. This means that there is now a single location for all information about exempt research, including consent information for exempt research and links to the template and the examples. Finally, on a separate note, I wanted you to let you know that HSD's PAVE program, that is our post-approval monitoring program, is now providing the option of in-person visits. For studies that are selected for monitoring, your preference will be solicited during scheduling, and our office will follow any COVID restrictions that are in place at the location of the visit. For more information about the PAVE program, please see the FAQs on our website. And that's it from me. Thank you for your time, and I can take any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Maria. Looks like there are no questions at this time. We'll go ahead and introduce Colleen Bettis from Management and Counseling Analysis, MAA. Colleen.
Good morning. Thank you. Yes, I'm Colleen Bettis. I'm with MAA, and I'm here today to just kind of give a high-level overview of what we'll be doing for new effort reporting in the post-go live environment. So we'll be introducing our new system, which is ECC. So what is ECC? The acronym stands for Employee Compensation Compliance. It's a third-party solution that we're purchasing from Huron. We looked at lots of different options as to how to move forward post-go live with effort reporting. And we selected ECC because it's a proven software that's implemented in peer institutions across the country. And with this new system, we'll be able to combine all current effort reporting processes onto one platform. How will this impact users? Well, we think overall it's a positive impact because, like I said, it'll be a single platform that will support, currently what we do for faculty, non-faculty. HarborView will be included, as well as we'll be able to support APL's needs. So it's a single platform. The other upside is it's very scalable. Currently, we have about 5,000 users. We anticipate that to grow over the next, decade or so. And so this is a platform that is scalable and will be able to support future requirements. Benefits, as I mentioned, standardized workflows, since we'll be putting everything, all the reporting roles onto the single platform, we'll be able to standardize workflows. We'll be able to automate processes and electronic records for all the effort reporting. It'll improve compliance, not only from the standardization, but also we'll be interfacing directly with Workday. So the data will be current and accurate. Again, a single platform, so a single user interface. We think that will improve and simplify the user experience. And again, just some of the themes that we kept coming up with is that uniformity and consistency across effort, across the campus. Impacts. So like with anything new, it's great, it's shiny and new. So we'll have new workflows, new reports, new user interfaces. But the opposite side to that coin is that's a challenge because it's all new and everyone is going to be faced with a lot of new processes, new interfaces, new systems as Workday goes live. So our approach is we need your input. And as we begin this process, we're going to be looking for what we're calling is ECC champions. So those will be folks out on campus who are users of the system at different, with different lenses. And we want to hear from you. We want to know, like, what works well with the current system? What do you like? What are those things that we want to try to carry forward? What are the pain points? What are things that we can either through workflow or other process improvements try to mitigate and maybe eliminate some of those pain points? So we'll be asking for end users, administrators, coordinators to participate in design discussions, in focus groups and or surveys. And again, we're trying to form a community of what we're calling the ECC champions, which will be kind of those super users that will be the voice of campus back to us so that we can incorporate as many factors and design requirements that campus has into the new system. And they will also, those ECC champions will also participate in the user acceptance testing. So just to give you a sense of where we are in this project, we spent months going through kind of analysis, like, do we remediate the existing system? What do we do with the various disparate systems? And we came upon the conclusion that we needed to seek out a third party and established solution. So we just had the project kickoff last month, April. We are slated to be in the cycle 3 testing, end-to-end testing as part of the work that FT is doing. So that should be, we'll begin that end-to-end testing October of this year. We'll be doing user acceptance testing in the spring. And again, these are all very preliminary. We're going to refine these schedules and provide more detail as we move forward. As you can see, we just kicked off last month, but we wanted to kind of lay out the map or what we're going to be doing in the next, well, what is it, year plus, to get ready to have a new effort system up and working July 1 of 23. So we are partnering with the ECC champions, again, those super users, to make sure that when we do go live in July, that people are familiar with the system, they've been trained, they understand how it works. We obviously need to maintain critical functionality. This ultimately is a compliance requirement, so we have to maintain, make sure that we're meeting that threshold of meeting compliance. We will be providing training materials. It'll be based out by user type. We're getting great support from our organizational change management team. They're being very proactive, so you should start seeing some things about training and user experience come out. We're going to document the workflow. We understand that In today's environment, people are transitory. And so, people change jobs and move into different roles. So we're going to work really hard on having a nice set of documentation so that as people are onboarded into the roles with the effort system, they have documentation to support their learning. And then, of course, we're maintaining transparency and communication. So this will be one of many times I think someone from this project will present to this group. Could be at various roles within the project team, but we'll keep you informed on what we're doing. We also are utilizing the JIRA stance that FT has, and so people will have transparency and can see where we are on major decisions. And we welcome feedback. This is a system that we want people to have ownership of and feel like they were a part of the process, because ultimately you're the users. And so we want you involved in that. So what's next? As I mentioned, again, we just kicked it off. This is right hot off the press. So we are in the design phase. So we are learning more about the features and functionalities and constraints of ECC. And so we're trying to create that, hit that sweet spot where we're maximizing effectiveness, but also maintaining the integrity of the system. We are collaborating weekly. I'm sure it'll move to daily with Huron on all the roles and responsibilities. And we have, I think, a very strong project team. We have a plan for our 4 phases. Our project manager, Justin Hart, has been doing a fantastic job. We're in that first part, that iteration part, where we're understanding, refining our needs, understanding the constraints of the system, and then just continue to design. This platform will interface directly with Workday. And so we're working closely with the FDM team to make sure that the data pools and everything is going to work. So there's a lot of work now being done by the design team, the integration team, and the FDM team. We're establishing communication and organizational change management. As I mentioned, we're getting great support from the OCM team. And so you'll see a lot of communication, multiple medias. This will just be one of the forums we're using to share with folks as to what's coming down the line and how implementation of this new system may impact you. And then again, we are using JIRA. So for those of you who are having trouble sleeping, go ahead and go into the JIRA site and you can track those tickets and see what the decisions are. So that's kind of a real high level overview. I'm happy to take questions. I also have here the email for our mailbox in MAA. And if you have questions, if you would like to be one of those ECC champions, go ahead and send an email to us. Anything you would like to know about future state, either ask now or shoot us an email and we'll get a response back to you.
Thanks, Colleen. It looks like we have some questions in the question and answer box. James is asking, while the EFECs will change, how will the GCCRs change?
Sure. So James, the GCCRs, many of the actual processes will be the same, but what we'll be doing is automating. Today, the GCCRs are report-based. So, folks download the effort report and sign it. In the new system, it will be an automated process, much like how the EFEX happens, in that a report will be generated, but it will be an automated process. Thank you.
Alyssa is asking, the ADS and the ENS payments interfere with the accuracy of the FEC in its current state. The percentage of effort on sponsored projects shifts slightly as the ADS, ENS payments are counted towards a 1.0 FTE, rather than being noted as a payment beyond the 1 FTE. Is this something we'll have some control over in future state?
So we're at the very infancy of the design process. So I can't speak to this specifically, how this design will come out, but this is certainly something I can take back to the design team and we can put it in as a requirement so it can be explored.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Next question, why are the 4 systems this will replace? Can you clarify?
Sure. So we're going to be, it'll be the current faculty effort reporting effects. It'll be the GCCRs. It'll be what Harborview is currently doing. They currently have their own internal process, and they'll move their reporting on to ECC, and then it will also be APL.
Thank you. Scott is asking, is Huron providing a custom solution, or is this off the shelf and adapted?
So it is off the shelf, but University of Washington is often a unique environment. So we'll be making some customizations to meet our specific needs, but we were really trying to go for an off-the-shelf proven solution when we made this decision to retire effects and the other mechanisms to do effort reporting. So it is the off-the-shelf, but there will be some customization.
Great. And our last live question from Lori is, when will the old system be retired, and will there be any overlap?
Yes, so we're working through that. That is, it's a tight needle to thread, but the plan as it stands right now is that we will stop effort reporting in current systems on June 30, 23, and beginning July 1, 23, will be in the new system. Now we're trying to account for cross-era OSETs, that will mean that we'll have to abbreviate one of the reporting cycles. And so all those details are to be discussed, but we recognize that the complexity, but the decision was made to stop doing effort reporting in current systems June 30, 23.
Thank you. And we had a couple more questions come in, and we have
Sure.
time, so we'll just go ahead.
Okay.
So Camille is asking, what does ECC stand for?
Sure. It stands for Employee Compensation Compliance. And that's just the product name from here on.
Thank you. And Rebecca wants to know if other peers that use this also use Workday.
Yeah, there are two that we've been talking with. One is University of Miami, and we've had lots of conversations with them. They've been great partners in this process. The other one is University of Kansas Medical Center, and we have not had conversations with them, but we have a contact, and should we run into questions or try to learn best practices from them, we would reach out to them.
Great, thank you. Please feel free to submit questions to the MRAM listserv question, and we'll make sure to get those out to everybody.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Chelsea, we'll go ahead and answer a question later. Sorry about that. And let me hand the flan over to Joe Giffels from Office of Research.
Thanks, Ari. Good morning, MRAMers. I'm Joe Giffels, as Ari said, from the university's Office of Research. And thank you for a little time on the agenda today. You got plenty of it looks like. My topic today is budgeting, and in particular, how are we going to budget for salaries on grant proposals during a period of status quo. So before I get to the actual budgeting advice, I'm going to provide some background and context on all this so we know where we are. We're talking about employees in the research, scientist, engineer categories. Around here, we refer to those as RSEs. As you may or may not have heard, the United Auto Workers Union has petitioned the State Public Relations Commission, or PERC, to organize UW's RSEs as a collective bargaining unit. As you may recall, UW's postdoctoral fellows were organized a couple of years ago by the UAW. We're talking here about RSEs in levels up through and including level 4. So, but we're not including senior RSEs or principal RSEs. Where are we now? Well, we're in the process of hearings, and these are hearings conducted by the state, by PERC, the Public Employee Relations Commission. And those hearings are meant to determine who is in the unit and who is not in the unit when it comes to RSEs? It may seem like that's a really direct and easy question to answer, but turns out not so much. So those hearings are hosted and run by PERC, by the state, and then attorneys for the union and for the university participate in those hearings. They ask questions, they call of witnesses, they ask for testimony, they cross-examine, and then the PERC hearing examiner does the same thing. It's all to get an idea of what RSEs are with respect to the university and who should logically be in the unit and who should not. So those hearings began last week. There were 3 full days of hearings. Things were not concluded, so there will be more hearings scheduled out in the not too distant future. At this point, the union has identified 1,500 folks that they believe fall in the RSE category that should be covered by this unit. Of those 1,500, a little more than 200 are being challenged by the university for one reason or another. So these hearings are meant to sort of get an idea of exactly who's in the unit. And that is important because that tells us a little bit about the timeline for all of this. So at some point following these hearings, there will be a period of organizing by the union, by the UAW. They will organize the potential members, which have been defined because of these hearings, and those members who are in the unit will then vote on whether or not they wish to be represented. After and if there's an affirmative or a yes vote by the majority of those who do vote, there will be a period of negotiation and ratification of a contract. So in terms of timing, first of all, it could take weeks to months for the union to organize the members to prepare for a vote, and that's after the hearings are done. And then following an affirmative vote for unionization, it's likely to take weeks to months to actually negotiate and ratify a contract. That's a process done by the university and the union in usually multiple sessions over some time. So that all says we are likely to be in a state of status quo for quite some time. What does this status quo mean? Well, it really means that the working conditions, and that would include salary, benefits, and any other working conditions that apply for these RSEs, are essentially frozen. There's going to be no change to those conditions for this whole status quo period. So that means, as you probably already know, that raises for RSEs will not be given during the status quo period that we are already in. Okay, finally, what does this mean for RSEs paid on grants, and how should we be budgeting for those from year to year? So our advice is pretty simple. The advice is do whatever you would normally do with respect to budgeting on a grant proposal. Presumably, you normally project salary and fringe cost increases each year. So if that's the case, continue to do that and use whatever method you normally use, or consult whatever sources you normally would consult for those numbers. And as usual, justify those increases in the budget justification absolutely as you normally would. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that there are going to be raises. There are not going to be raises during the status quo period. But salary increases, if that's your normal process, can be put into the budget. So if and when a contract is ratified, and that's not an absolutely sure thing, it depends on the vote of the members, at that point, we would emerge from the status quo, and salaries and raises will be determined by terms of the collective bargaining agreement that is agreed to between the union and the university. So those terms will determine salaries and raises for RSEs at that point. If the unit votes against representation, we'll still emerge from the status quo. And in that case, salaries and raises will be able to proceed really as they used to proceed before the status quo. And that is that all of those go on as normal. You may notice that I didn't provide any slides. That was on purpose. And we're not planning to issue any written guidance on this, which is why we wanted to get it in front of you all, MRAM, today. It is okay to tell others about this guidance and to follow the guidance. And if you have questions, take them first to your department or dean's office. And if the questions can't be answered there, it is fine to then send a question to research@uw.edu. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. I see one of them. Is it known if the RSEs will remain as pro staff if they decide to unionize? Really good question. I don't know the answer to that. My guess is that will be something that will end up being negotiated during the negotiation sessions. That will probably be a point of negotiation. Good question, though. A second question, that is, RSEs will not be eligible for the yearly merit raises. Has status quo already started? Yes, no, and yes or no, and yes. So no, they are not eligible for the yearly merit increases coming this September. Has status quo already started? Yes, it has. And another question, if the union is rejected, will raises be retroactive to September 1? That is certainly not known at this time, and that decision will probably be made only after the end of the negotiation of a contract. Again, any further questions, check first with your department or dean's office, and if necessary, then hit us up at research@uw.edu. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Joe. Great. Well, that concludes, believe it or not, the agenda for this month's MRAM. It's a short one today. We will see you all in June. Have a great day. And if you have any additional questions, please send them in and we'll get the response back out to you on the listserv. Thank you.